It's halftime of the Grapevine Faith Episcopal School of Dallas game, which means it's an opportunity for our stories of faith. And this week, I'm really excited to introduce you to the new offensive coordinator, Darrick Ware. I'm even more excited to introduce you to his wife, Brittany. So, man, we really appreciate you guys sitting down with me and get excited to hear y'all's story.
Thanks, we're excited to be here.
You bet. So, Brittany, I've got some questions for you. But first, Coach Ware, I'm going to let you brag on your beautiful family for a second. Tell us about the Wares.
Yeah. We've been married for 15 years now. We've got 3 kids, Jericho, Everly, and Zeke. They all are faith kids. We met at Harding University 18 years ago. I saw her across the room in the cafeteria, and she was with her friends, and I was like, I'm going to go talk to her. And so I went over and I talked to her, and I asked them, I said, hey, what are you doing tonight? And they said, we're going to church. And I said, I'm going to church too. I said, what church are y'all going to? And they said, we're going to go to this one over here. And I said, I'm going to that one too. And then they said, hey, well, let's go together. And I was like, that's a great idea. And so we went to church, and then we went out for coffee afterwards, and just been hanging out every day since. It's been awesome.
I'll say the funny part with that story, though, is we both are from Oregon originally, and we grew up just a few miles apart. We did not meet until we were at school in Arkansas. Man. So kind of weird.
Very, very providential, right? Yeah. On God's part. That's awesome. So you mentioned that you both grew up in Oregon. You played football and played at Glenn before you transferred to Harding. So talk a little bit about that. Tell us about kind of your playing career and then how you transitioned into coaching.
Yeah. I went to Glenn Junior College and wanted to walk on there. And I went and we did tryouts. And the next day was Tuesday, September 11, 2001. Mm-hmm. And I went over to look at the sheet that they had posted of who made the team. And my name was not on that sheet. And I remember looking at that sheet for like an hour. There's only like 2 names on there. I'm thinking maybe they must have put my name on the back or something. But it wasn't on there. I stuck around and I worked out all fall, and then in the spring tried out again, made the team, and then was a starter for our first game against Georgia Military. And so, man, it was awesome. It was an awesome ride. Really worked hard. Ended up going to Harding on a scholarship, Division II school in Arkansas. Played there, met my awesome wife. And man, I owe a lot to that. To one, playing sports in college. I wouldn't have been able to go to college otherwise. I would have, we wouldn't have had the finances to do it. But went junior college, earned a scholarship that first year, and then I had a scholarship at Harding. So now in my role as the recruiting coordinator, like I know the huge value that it has. I also know like it can be tough. But like if you stick with it, like, man, just the rewards are great.
And then talk about your transition from, playing and all that. And then after you graduated into coaching, how did that happen?
Yeah. I took the first job that was offered to me. So I went to a job fair at Harding, and they offered me a job at a school in Tennessee. So went to Tennessee and coached there. And then I got a call from a coach who I knew in Texas, who was like, hey, come work for me. And so I got back down here to Texas and been coaching, I guess this is year 17. So, man, it's just, I just feel like there's just so much value in getting to invest in our kids, in the players. And I know the difference that sports made in my life, and I know the difference it can make in other people's lives. And so to get to do that is really valuable. Like I derive a lot of joy from that.
Sure. Well, you and Coach Holland met when y'all were both at Lake Highlands together. And I know he's a good salesman, but last year you had you was your first year as head coach. You just taken a new head coach role at Harrisburg High School, and then he recruits you to Grapevine Faith. Now, don't get me wrong. We're thrilled you guys are here. We want you to be here for a long, long time. But that had to be a challenging decision for your family after just 1 year as a head coach at Harrisburg to make a move to come here as the offensive coordinator. Talk a little bit about that process.
Yeah. Coach Holland and I are good friends. We work together and have been really close friends ever since. And I knew, like, I was telling Coach Holland this when I was a head coach in Harrisburg. Awesome, like I grew so much in that. I loved it. It was really tough. Provided super awesome challenges that I feel like caused a lot of growth. I also felt like God was doing a really mighty work there. We had 3 of our players were baptized.
Wow.
This is a public school.
Right.
I would load up a bus. Went and took a bunch of our football kids to go watch the Mac Powell concert. He's a Christian music. We went to Matthew West concert. And I'm driving this school bus back to the school, back to Harrisburg, and we have public school kids in the back singing worship songs.
Wow.
And I just thought, like, man, this is, God is doing a mighty work here. He is moving in a great way. So it was really tough to leave those kids. I feel like I left them set up for success, and they're always on my heart, praying for them. But to get back to Texas, to get our kids at Faith, to be close to my wife's family, these were all like awesome opportunities. To get to work with Coach Holland, like, man, he's an awesome coach, an awesome guy, and so we really feel super blessed to be here.
Well, like I said, we're thrilled that you guys are here. So, Brittany, I'm going to shift to you for a second. You've been around Darrick since he was playing at Harding. You've been around football, his whole coaching career. I just think there is a different level of womanhood, if you will, to be a coach's wife. Y'all deal with so much. You've got to corral Zeke and Jericho and Everly, and then, he's gone a lot. And I think even the off season is busy as well. It's not just the in season. So talk about that. How have you been able to kind of manage through all those things? And I mean, literally all those things that you have to take care of. How do you manage through that as a coach's wife?
Yeah, for sure. I just didn't know what I was signing up for. I think before. I'm just kidding. I would have no matter what. I think being a coach's wife, a lot of people don't even, I think, realize all that goes into it. But I think for me, the thing that makes it, I wouldn't say easy. There's for sure has been challenging seasons when all the time away. But I think knowing it is a ministry and knowing like his heart for the kids that he's pouring into. Every Friday night it'll be like 1:00 in the morning, and we're talking about all those kids and like how can we help them? How can we help grow them? Like, what are they fighting to overcome? Just like with our own children, we do. And so I think looking at it that way, like for some people, maybe it's going on a missionary field to Africa. For other people, it's like in their workplace. For us, it's on the field and it's in the classroom. And so just knowing that's the heart behind it, I think it's a bigger picture than just our family. It's more. And so I think that makes it, it's easy to get behind when you know that there's a reason that's bigger.
Wow, that's great. Let me ask you this for any Grapevine Faith families that are watching. What's the best way that they can, if they see a coach's wife, Lorraine, or somebody else, what's the best way that they can encourage you and support you? If they see a coach's wife, they may assume, oh, she's too busy to talk to. Now you're going like, hey, I'm over here. What's the way that they can encourage you when they see you and they have some interaction with you?
Yeah, I think just encouraging actually our coaches encourages me. Like, and Faith has been great with that. We've gotten so much positive feedback since we've been here of just an appreciation of like, hey, thanks for all the hours that you're putting in for my son to help him. Hearing those comments, it really fills my bucket too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna ask you guys to take your Faith employee hat off for a second. As parents, as Faith parents, what are some of the things that you've seen? Again, I know your kids don't necessarily have to be here, but they are. What are some things as a parent that you've seen that make Grapevine Faith different than maybe other schools that you've been a part of?
I'll start with our kids do have to be here. That's a big reason that Faith is such a draw to us is because we know what an environment it is. I'll say for me personally, so Darrick being in a leadership role, in my 9 to 5, I'm in a leadership role as well. And that's something I think we're really passionate about. We talk a lot about just the call to be leaders. And so when we were looking into this, hearing just the school's mission statement and knowing that Christian leadership is something that is paramount here, I think it just was really obvious that this is a place we're supposed to be. I think we need more Christian leaders, and knowing every single one of the kids in these hallways is getting the tools to be equipped to go out and do that. And leadership, it doesn't have to be being in a position of power or being the loudest voice in the room. I think we're all called to lead in some capacity. And so for me, that was one of the things where I just feel like what a special place that is the mission here, and very much aligned with who we are.
Yeah, to come home.
Top that, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, to be sitting the other day, we're sitting at the kitchen table, and our little boy, he's 6. Zeke, he's telling us Bible stories and like what it means to follow Christ and to be Christ-like, and it's like we're pouring into him Christian values at home. And that's the most important decision our kids can make, is like to follow Christ. And so to have, if that's the most important thing to us, that should be, and they're going to school for most of their day, that should be the most important thing at the school. And so the fact that our school is focused on eternity, man, the athletics are incredible here. The academics are incredible here. My first week on campus, we had Harvard, Princeton, and Yale all show up to recruit our kids. We had Holy Cross and Stephen F. Austin, so it's like Division I schools showing up to recruit our kids, but not just any Division I schools. You have Ivy League Division I schools as well, and it's like, so just to know, like, these kids excel athletically, they excel academically, and then the most important thing is that they're being poured into spiritually. So, like, I don't know what more a school could offer. Like, golly, that's incredible.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's one of the reasons why we're here, for all those reasons you guys talked about. Shift gears for a second. Talk about your role. You talk about recruiting coordinator. I don't know if we've had one since we've been here in the last 6 years, but talk about that role and kind of what all that entails.
Yeah. Hey, quick shout out. September 18th, we're going to have a meeting in the Learning Commons for everybody, about, hey, if you're interested in your kid going to college and playing sports, here's what that looks like. So my role is I'm going to help facilitate our kids transition from here to playing sports in college, And so one of the things that we're going to talk about in that meeting is, like, what does that timeline look like? I encourage our kids and our parents to look at it as, like, hey, if you want to play sports in college, that's like trying to get a very sought after job. One of our kids the other day was like, hey, coach, I had this great game and no college coaches called me, And it's like, well, yeah, dude, you got to apply, like, you got to reach out to them, like, yeah, you graduate from Harvard, number one in your class. Elon Musk is not getting on the phone and calling you up to offer you a job. You have to apply, and then you got to interview, and then you got to do well in those interviews, So
there's a process to all that.
There's a big there's a process, and my job is just to help facilitate that for coaches and for our coaches and our kids and our parents, and to get it all organized. I spent a lot of time on the phone with coaches, getting them to come see our kids and going and visiting colleges and getting those college coaches to come visit our school. It takes a whole village to get it done, but we're getting it done.
Awesome. Well, I don't normally say this till the end of the conversation. Both of y'all have touched on it, but I know that your relationship with Christ is paramount to y'all. Maybe can you share just about your faith journeys briefly with us?
Yeah. I'll start. I was lucky enough to grow up with a family that really, helped me understand what was important in life. My granddad was a preacher, and I think from day one I was really early, and I think that's been a gift for me to kind of know what was the main thing from day one, and really something, again, why we're here is I think kids are so impressionable, and their worldview is really formed in early years, and so being able to help pour into them is something that is really a passion of ours and something we feel really called to.
Yeah. I was baptized when I was 12, and my mom, it was a single family, my mom was a single mom, and, there was like some tough times in there, and, but to just see, like, her dedication to the Lord and her dedication to sharing that with us, her kids, and accepted Christ in my life when I was 12, and he's been doing a mighty work in my life ever since. I feel like last year did a mighty work in the sense that I've always felt like, hey, I got to be the one getting it done. I'm the go-getter. And so last year as the head coach in Harrisburg, I'm reading through Exodus, and I'm realizing, like, Moses is always turning to the Lord and saying, like, hey, God, what are we doing next? What do we do now? And so that was, like, I guess that was my call. That was what God was working on in me, because I always trusted the Lord, but at the same time, like, if I was leading the Israelites and we were backed up along the Red Sea, I probably would have been building rafts, and God would have been like, "Hey, buddy, come ask me what's going on. I can help.
Yeah.
And so instead of just like to turn to Him first, still do all that I can do, and so I just, that's my continued faith journey. God is doing a mighty work, and that's my prayer for all of our kids is that, as we go through these seasons, that God is doing a mighty, mighty work in their lives and growing them.
Well, we're so thankful that the Ware family's at Faith for so many reasons. Thank y'all for sharing your journey and your story of faith with us. And again, we're just thrilled that you guys are here. So thanks for taking time to sit down with me.
We are blessed in a mighty way to be here.
Well, Faith is blessed by you being here. If you or your family is interested in finding out more information, you can visit grapevinefaith.com to get information or to set up a scheduled visit here at Grapevine Faith. The second half of the Grapevine Faith Lines and the EST Eagles is coming up next right here on the Grapevine Faith Sports Network.